All right, so we are working on the SLO packet, but we're going to start with some warm-ups of some trig, even though we actually are past that part, but I got really nervous yesterday when I realized that people were telling me to do things that weren't going to work. What do we want to do here? It's got to equal 0, right? Before we can factor and solve anything. So if I do negative sine theta tan theta minus sine theta, what can we do now? Okay, we could take out a negative sign. What would it say then? We took out a negative sign, so plus 1. Okay. The negative sign, now we can play take your turn being equal to 0, right? The opposite of sine equals 0. Well, if we divide by negative 1, we just get the sine is 0. And the sine is 0 where? Zero and pi. We want to call it 0, not 2 pi, right? Because it doesn't say or equal to up here. Everybody good? And the tangent would equal negative 1. Where is that true? Remember, tangent's hard on the unit circle. You have to kind of look at x and y, but where would we get a negative 1? Somewhere else? Yep, you're right. I was wrong. 3 pi over 4, right? Because you got to have a positive and a negative. Is that working for everybody or not? Hunter, you good? It has a positive and a negative, right? We're good? Okay. Same or different? Kind of the same, right? We would just need to take out a cosine. Yeah, we certainly could. If we just took out a cosine, we'd have negative 1 plus 2 cosine theta. So we'd have the cosine is 0, or let's see if I added 1 over here and divided by cosine is 1/2. Does that seem right, guys? I think if I did my magic. Okay. So cosine is 0 at and 1/2 at 5 pi over 3. Is that the other one? All right, what's different about this disaster? We got just a disaster, basically, but let's, can I actually make the 0 be on this side? So when I add that over the other side, I'll have a sine squared, okay? And I'm going to subtract 3, so I'll have a 1 on that side. And I also on that side have a plus 2 sine theta. So not taking out a sine, right? Yeah, I have to factor this sine plus 1 and sine plus 1. What? So we get the sine is equal to what? Negative 1, which is only at 3 pi over 2. Okay. Tangent squared minus 2 tan plus 1 equals 0. See, this is what I get sometimes on the test. And then people want to take a tangent out of these two. What's wrong with that? Can you play take your turn being equal to negative 1? No, no such game, okay? Because there are infinite things that could multiply to be negative 1. There are infinite things that can multiply to make 0, but one of them has to be 0. That's not true with negative 1, okay? So we end up with tan minus 1, tan minus 1. Does that seem like I factored that right, guys? So I get where the tangent is 1, which would be at and 5 pi over 4. Is that right? Because it'd be both negative, right? Okay. All right. Today we're going to do conics. We did cover this question yesterday, so I'm going to go really quickly. We talked about that it had an x squared, and we moved everything else to the other side because we were going to complete the square, but there's nothing to complete the square with, right? So what is it going to be? If it has a squared on the x but no squared on the y, the parabola. And the form of the parabola on our sheet is something like this. I might have left side and right side switched because I always do that. But is this in the okay form yet? It's pretty close. This side is okay, right? X squared. What do we need to do over here? Take out a -2 maybe? And then it would say x plus 5 and we could be done? Oh, yeah, it'd be good if it was a y. Thank you. All right. I did put a couple extras of these in because I felt like we needed to practice completing the square a little bit. I don't think we need to do all of them. I put 4 of them in. Does somebody want to pick? Yes, to this one? Whoa, 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 whoa. Anybody? 1 or 2? 1 or 2. I feel like the eye doctor. 1 or 2, which is better? Okay. If we rearrange this, a whole bunch of people did bad on this section. Okay, remember the process? X's together, Y's together, everything else on the other side. Then what? Take out a 9 and make sure you take it out of everything and add a blank. Then what are we going to do here? Okay, but we add a blank. Okay? X plus 5 squared 25. I know there's a lot of steps to this. Okay, but don't lose that 9. We got a squared. We added a 25. All right, what about this one? Thank you. It's glad somebody's fixing me. 9 times 25. 225, 425, 225. Okay. Okay. Back to the green. Y minus 1 squared. So we're adding a 1. Okay, what's negative 190 plus 225 plus 1? 36. Okay. Then what? Okay, divide by 36, divide by 36, divide by 36. 9 goes into 36 4 times. Y minus 1 has nothing to reduce with the 36, and 36 over 36 is 1. And then it is an... What conic does it make, guys? It's a plus in the middle. An ellipse, right? Can anybody tell me what number 2 would be without doing the mess? Okay, I heard hyperbola and parabola. It's a parabola y. There's only a squared on one of the variables, right? All right, what about number 3? Do you think you know what that would be? As squared on both. So it's down to circle, ellipse, or hyperbola. What? Why do you think not a circle? Those don't have the same coefficient, right? So it's stretched differently in different directions. And it's a minus on one of them, right? So I think hyperbola. You might be better off doing this. Put in the positive one first, even though it's the y, right? Because some of you got really confused. Oh, look, there's nothing to complete the square with there. Some of you got really confused with the minus out front. Then you forgot that it was a hyperbola. All right, if we take out a 25, we have y squared plus 4y plus blank. And this one's just a, oops, yeah, plus or minus whatever, 9x squared equals 125. Okay, we get y plus 2 squared is 4, which means we're putting over here 100. Still have a 25 out here. We have a minus 9y squared equals 225. If we divide by 225, somebody help me quick. I want to be done and move on here. Y plus 2 quantity squared over 9 minus 9 goes into 225 25 times, right? That's one of these is an x. Thank you. I'm like, we got an x somewhere. Bree's over there. Fix it, all powers an x. Because she's so mean, right? Not. All right. Better? Why don't I have a 9 in front of the x anymore? The 9 went in here 25 times. Are we good? That over here it reduced out. So then it would be a hyperbola because it had a minus. All right, enough. Killed that one. What's 22? Back on the packet, you have this question. This is an ellipse because it's plus in the middle. The center is at, okay, this is x minus h, y minus k. Which one's a and which one's b on an ellipse? A is the bigger one, so that's a squared and b squared. Okay, so the center is at hk, which is 3, negative 2. So h is 3, k is negative 2, for those of you who like to just follow recipes. What's a and what's b? A squared is 16, so a is 4. B squared is 4, so b is 2. So if I go over to 3, negative 2, what am I doing? Yes, underneath the y was the 16. So in the y direction, I go square root of 16 or 4. Good job, Andrew. And in the x direction, there was a 4 under here. Square root is 2 either way. And then I draw that. Ooh, that may be the best one in a while. Okay, how do I find the vertices? Well, h comma k plus or minus a, is that what it says for a formula? So it would be at 3 comma negative 2 plus or minus 4, which would be negative 6, and 3, 2. There's co-vertices as well. Those would be the other two. We'll just go with the vertices. I'm okay. And foci. We need C, right? Be careful. This formula changes for C, right? Depends what the figure is. What's the formula for C when it's an ellipse? It's a squared minus b squared when it's an ellipse. So it's 16 minus 4, which is square root of 12. Lovely. 2 square roots of 3. And that means it's like 3 point something. So right inside here somewhere on the major axis. So it's going to be 3 comma negative 2 plus or minus 2 square roots of 3 if we write it in some kind of exact form. Did I lose you? What if it's a hyperbola? Do we need to practice one that's a hyperbola? X minus 1 squared minus y minus 3 squared, 25, 16. Okay, what is this? You don't have this question, but I'm trying to make sure we really remember all this. This is a hyperbola because it has the minus. The center is at 1, 3 because it's h and k still. Opens which way for this particular one? How do you tell? Okay, the x is the positive, so it's going to open left and right. Okay. What's A and what's B? A is 4 and B is 5 because A is always the positive one, not the greater one here, yes? So what do I do? Anybody remember how this goes? I go 4 each way in what? X direction, okay? And 5 each way in the Y direction. Totally making up stuff here. Yes. Then I draw the magical box and I draw the asymptotes. Ooh, almost hit it. Then what? Where? On the left and right. This is a vertex. And this is a vertex. And how do I find the foci? Okay, how do I find C? A squared plus B squared. So square root of 16 and 25, square root of 41 maybe? Okay. So it would be 1 plus or minus square root of 41 comma 3. Is that right? Anybody double checking me? I think so, because it should be out that way. All right. This says create an equation of a hyperbola. Yeah, we didn't do the asymptotes on that one. All right, where's the center if the vertex, I have to sketch these. It says the vertices are at 3, 0, negative 3, 0. What does that mean about this hyperbola? The center is at 0, 0. How would you find it if it wasn't that sweet? Add them and divide by 2, you do the midpoint, right? Of the 2 points, okay? And which way is this opening? Left and right, because the vertices line up that way, right? Okay. Do we already know A? This distance is 2A, so A is 3. It opens in which direction? Left and right. Can we just write that? Okay, how can we find B? Right here, in one that opens sideways, it's A over B or B over A for the slope. So this is B over A. Now, sometimes it's reduced, but if we already know A is 3, that means what? B is 5. Okay. Center's at 0, 0. Is it going to be x squared first or y squared first? Because it's sideways, and it would be x minus 0 squared minus y minus 0 squared. I don't know why there's parentheses there, just making up stuff, I guess. Since it was at 0, 0, there's nothing in there. In the x direction, we went how far? Is this a 3? It's a 9. And under here, we just said b was 5, so this is 25. Everybody good? Okay. The other packet has more practice on those kind if you need it. Okay. This is a concept question that you've probably never seen one exactly like this. It says, compare the characteristics of these two parabolas given the graph of one and the equation of the other. Which parabola has a vertex with a greater y value? Which parabola would have a focus with a greater x value? Okay, can you estimate a vertex for this one? Where's the vertex? 3, negative 4. Okay, can you estimate or find the vertex of this one? HK, right? 1, negative 3. So which has a greater y value? Negative 3 compared to negative 4. Negative 3 is more, right? Okay. What can you tell me about parabola B? It actually opens sideways, doesn't it? Because the y is squared, not the x. It would be at 1, negative 3 over here, opening this way. Okay. Which parabola would have a focus with a greater x value? Well, the focus for this one is got an x value of what? It's somewhere on this line, right? So it's got an x value of 3. Somewhere on that line is the focus. But this one has a focus where? Can you find the focus? Pretty easily. What is this? 1/8 equals 4p. If I divide both sides by 4, I get... Use your calculator if you need to. 1 over 32. So guess what? That means the focus is barely inside there, 1/32, okay? Or if you found the ordered pair, it would be 1 plus p. Is that what it says, guys? Is it h plus p? Okay. So which has a greater x value? Well, what is the x value of a? It's got to be on that line somewhere. Okay. You do have to explain, okay? Parabola A, the focus is 3 something. We don't care what. Parabola B, we actually found it, right? Focus was at 1 over 1 and 1/32, comma negative 3. So 3 is greater than 1 and 1/32. I don't know. I'm just making something up. Could you say the focus is further to the right? Would that work? Would indicate why it was greater, right? For an x value. All right, so the question is similar to this. You're going to have to do some thinking about parabolas. All right, this is a circle. We already practiced this today. Who's got me? Go fast. Next step. Ew. Yeah. X minus, let's just leave it 9 over 2. Okay? Square it, and what would you get? Square the top and the bottom. 81 over 4. I don't think it's like this on the final, but okay, what about here? Y plus 5 is 25. Okay, 25, 26, and 20 and a fourth. That's lovely. 26, 40. Okay. All right, that's the equation. If we want to leave it like that, this would be better as a fraction probably. What is that as a fraction? What is it? Okay. So the center is where? It in this disgusting on the 9 halves, negative 5. And this is equal to what? The equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So this is r squared. So the radius would be square root of 185 over 2. How many times does 5 go into 185? Does it reduce? No. 5 and 185 divided by 5, guys. What is it? 185 divided by 5 is 37. Those are both prime numbers, so it's not going to reduce. Okay, that's all I was trying to check. All right, I don't think it's that bad. All right, what kind of conic and its eccentricity? Hyperbola. Okay. A, because it's a hyperbola, A is where? Positive, but it's not 4. It's 2. B is 6. Because it's a hyperbola, and we want the eccentricity, we want C over A. So C is the square root of what when you have a hyperbola? Square root of 40. Somebody get that? Okay. Which is 4 times 10, or 2 square roots of 10. Okay, C over A. 2 square roots of 10 divided by 2, right? So we just get square root of 10, which is, I think, 3.1. Yep. So does that make sense? It does say exact up here, guys, so leave it a radical, okay? Do we need to do another one? I can go back and do eccentricity on another problem. We have other problems here. Huh? No? Okay. Then we get to the sequence section of this. Last part of the SLO is sequences. All right. Oh, great. Because this went so well last week. Some of you did great. Explicit and recursive. You have to know the vocabulary, right? Explicit has what in it? Okay. It has the first term, but it has an N in it. Okay. Recursive doesn't have an N in it other than as a subscript. It's got an A sub n minus 1. Okay, first of all, we need to decide what kind this is. What's going on here? Minus 50, minus 50, minus 50. Okay, so it means it's arithmetic if you're looking for a formula. So explain to me how to get to the next one. Or 270 minus 50n. Somebody check if I reduced that right in my little wee brain. Okay. That's optional. You can leave it. I don't really care. Okay. What about recursive? 2 parts. You can put that in front or back, but you got to have it. All you got to do is tell me how to get to the next one. Just subtract 50, right? All right, we're almost done. Find the fifth term. Please tell me this is the easiest question on the quiz. Put in a 5. 5 minus 1 is... How many people are still going to get this wrong, though? They're going to forget the parentheses. Okay. Negative 2 to the fourth should be positive 16 times 4. I'm going with 64, but my brain is probably wrong. Is that right? Okay. Determine if it's arithmetic, geometric, and evaluate the series. How do you determine this, guys? Okay, I would put in a 1, and you get out what? 5. Put in a 2. You'd have 6 plus 2 is... Put in a 3. You'd have 9 plus 2 is... Put in a 4. 12 plus 2 is... Put in a 5. 15 plus 2 is... Why did I go all the way out to 5? Well, probably not going to change, but it wants the sum of the first 5 numbers, so if I want to be super lazy, I just found the first 5 numbers, right? But it seems to be... Okay. If I didn't write them all down, can we practice using the sum formula for arithmetic? The sum of 5 arithmetic is the first plus the fifth times 5 over 2. Does that look familiar to anybody? So we'd have 5 plus 17 times 5 over 2. That's 22, 55. Is that what you got when you did this as well? Anybody add that up? Or use the sum symbol on your calculator? There's 1,001 ways to do this question. We good? 30. There's actually only 30 chess questions on the, but remember I put an extra graphing cosine and sine question on there? That's why this has 31. Okay. Given the first term and the common ratio of an arithmetic sequence, find the exact value of the 7th term. Okay, the explicit formula says so we'd have 17 minus 1.5. We want the 7th term, so we'd have 7 minus 1 or 6. I'm guessing 8. Is it 8? Okay. What if I changed that question totally and said it was geometric and this was R? And I wanted the 7th term. 17 times negative 1.5 to the 7 minus 1 or 6th, right? And we would remember our parentheses. Get off there. 17 times negative 1.5 to the 6th. Yeah, it's a lovely, like, 193.64, blah, 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 blah. Not that bad on the test, but you get the idea, right? Okay. There's a difference, arithmetic, geometric. Okay. This says, given these 3 different geometric sequences, compare the value of R for each. Okay. What's R here? Can you tell? R is what you're multiplying by, right? You could generate it if you want. First term, then it says to multiply by 5/4. So you'd get negative 10/4, which reduces. You'd multiply by 5/4 again, get negative 50 over 16, okay? But R is just 5/4, yes? Because that's what you're multiplying by. Can you tell what R is in this one? Okay, you could put in a 1 if you want. You'd get out 7. If you put in a 2, you'd get out 14. If you put in a 3, you'd get out 4 times 7 is 28. So what's R? which you should just be able to pull out of the equation, right? Okay. Gotta do some work to find R here. 3 something something 18, well, 18.75 is the third one. Is that what that says? The blind lady and her bifocals. Okay. Now what? 3R, right? So R squared, like Andrew said, equals 18.75. Okay, 18.75 divided by 3 is 6.25. Square root of that. Okay. It actually could be plus or minus, because it could have been a negative in there. We're just going to go with 2.5, okay? It's not confusing on the quiz, like it's not a... It would change the order of things, yes, on this question. That's why. All right. Explanation of finding each ratio and... Okay. So sequence A, R equals 5/4 from the equation. Sequence B, R equals 2, we could tell from the equation mostly, right? Sequence C, found R and it was equal to 2.5. Like my complete sentence explanations here. I don't have room. Okay. Make sure you write something there so that I can give you the points. All right. What did we want the order to be up here? Least to greatest. So the smallest is 5/4, which is A, then B, then C, as long as C is positive 2.5. All right, so that's what the SLO looks like. Be ready, be ready, be ready.